Last one. All right, so first I want to talk about, so I'll start off by talking about my time at Ankeny Centennial, second half. Going off of what I saw from, or what I heard back from Pete, or remember hearing back from Pete, is I believe I've done good about achieving my goal I had in my PDP. Yeah. And that was become more confident in my evaluations. I believe it got to a point where it was less Pete watching over my evaluation and more so the athletic trainer got so busy that he was confident enough in my skills that he would let me do my assessments, he would do his assessments, and if I needed his input, I would go ask. But otherwise, he'd just come look at my SOAP notes later if he had any other questions based on what my eval said. So with that being said, I believe I achieved or got progressed towards my goal of becoming more confident in my evaluations and being more knowledgeable during my evaluations to the point where it looked as if I was a clinician. Looking at my second goal of my PDP during my time in Ankeny, I didn't achieve this goal, but as I started working more in depth on my rehab project, I started to understand the process of rehabilitation and how to implement basically creative ideas to keep the athlete involved and keep yourself involved in your own rehab and just maintain retention. So the specifics for my goal was refine my knowledge of muscular anatomy and translate that into effective rehab, stretches, and exercises. While I was at Ankeny Centennial, I was basically just going off of what Pete had and what he kind of said. I had my own ideas. Obviously basic stretches but basic stretches, quad, hamstring, all that kind of stuff. I could come up with that, but just like specifics and just being creative as far as exercises, I was just starting out at that point. So that's something I do need to continue working on, and I believe is pretty much my weak point right now. But like I said, during this project with Dr. Wieseman, my skill, I've become more confident in my skill of that. Looking back on both Ankeny Centennial and the days where we had Grandview staff come in and we did evaluations on them, I believe my SOAP note-taking skills are good in the sense that I can understand them and recollect back on them, but as far as legibility standpoint, for if I was to hand it off to someone else, it still needs some work. My handwriting needs work in general, but it still needs work. And that's something I've gotten better at, so that way I don't have to feel like I'm as rushed and write as sloppily, but have a mindset of how to do things, so that way I don't feel as rushed, or I don't feel like the patient's just watching me as I write. Make basically the evaluation more fluid. Looking at my educational goals, this semester learn about many rehabilitation methods and develop creative ideas for sports and specific recoveries. Like I said, not until I got to doing a lot of research with going towards my rehab project with Dr. Wieseman that I even scratched the surface of that. I think it's something that I have to have my own patient and progress them throughout their injury to actually grasp how to be creative. Because, for the rehab project, it was just kind of me getting my ideas on paper to illustrate to him that I knew what I was talking about versus being more fluid and creative with my ideas to the point where a patient would like to do the rehab, so that way I'm not just doing band walks the entire time. With that being said, it kind of segues into my second educational goal, which is refine my basic knowledge of muscular recovery, the muscle recovery process, and implement it in clinical this semester. The end of the year projects, both modalities, and my therapeutic exercises class, they kind of almost forced you to understand not your specific injury and what your modality is, to the point where you have to know this process. You have to know this. So I believe I've completed this goal for the most part. I have a very good understanding of inflammation, proliferation to maturation, and how to manage all the athlete's needs in those stages. Now we get to my personal goals, which these are the ones that I failed. I failed at. Be more critical of myself for assignment quality this semester. We've had this talk in your office that I understand what happened toward the end of the semester and why it didn't end terribly, but why it could have ended better. It's just I got very complacent in my place of where I was at learning. I thought I understood it for the most part and slacked off a little bit. And in the end, I was able to pull myself up, but I can't let that happen in the future. Period. For the second one, continue my reading the chapters to refine my knowledge from the Starkey book. I actually did revisit that a lot, and it kept me up on everything from the hip down to the shoulder out and establishing my understanding of it. Now I just briefly want to talk about my time at Capital City Chiropractic. Most of my concerns were addressed in the rubric, the A-track thing I filled out, but overall my time there, I believe, was good. I got a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of conversation between me and Dr. Larang as far as both patient-centered care, understanding one another's profession, and kind of having a professional discussion on any new patient that would come. And I'd ask him what he thought the situation was. I'd actually even did a couple special tests just to kind of see if I could throw a suggestion in there for diagnosing a patient. It wasn't anything where I was practicing out standard. I just kind of was very curious, and I just wanted to see if I could help out with the patient's initial diagnosis of their injury, why they come to the chiropractic clinic, and it went well for the most part. All in all, with the Capital City Chiropractic clinic, it is a very visual learning experience, but if you create good conversation within there to build up your understanding of injuries and kind of ask questions like, hey, what's this, why is this happening, all that kind of stuff, it can give you a lot of information on both neurological injuries, which he deals with a lot, with the spine being how it is and how he does adjustments, and I gave him some insight on muscular injuries, which I believe to be based on what his diagnosis was. And I know this went a little bit long, but this is the last video of the year. See you next year.